Hello, everybody. Today we will be having a debate over the topic of forecasting. Does past data provide value to companies during market shifts? In rapidly changing markets, should companies rely on historic data, or is it outdated? I argue that yes, past data is valuable and should be relied upon, even in rapidly changing markets. Forecasting is the process of using data to predict future outcomes and make informed decisions. While people may argue that historical data is irrelevant during market shifts, I will demonstrate that past data, when used wisely, is a crucial asset in understanding trends, informing decisions, and adapting to volatility. Past data is essential for recognizing patterns and trends, even during turbulent times. Consider the COVID-19 pandemic. It was a period of unpredictable global disruption, yet companies like Amazon thrived by leveraging historical data. By analyzing prior trends in e-commerce growth and consumer behavior during crises, Amazon predicted an exponential rise in online shopping. Their forecasting, rooted in historical data, allowed them to scale operations effectively, meeting demand without compromising customer satisfaction. Secondly, past data provides context that aids in decision making. Without a baseline, it's impossible to understand the magnitude of change or identify whether a market shift is a short-term anomaly or part of a long-term trend. Take the automotive industry shift towards electric vehicles, for example. Companies like Tesla and Ford rely on historical data to understand consumer preferences for features, price points, and charging infrastructure. Even in the face of rapid change, historical data provides insights into what consumers prioritize, the data that shapes strategic decisions about product development and market positioning. Predictive models, which are used a lot in operations management, depend heavily on historical data. These models use past trends to simulate future scenarios, enabling companies to prepare for a range of possibilities. Consider the airline industry. Airlines like Delta and Southwest rely on historical data to forecast passenger demand, even during market shifts caused by geopolitical tensions or economic downturns. By analyzing prior disruptions, such as 9/11 or the 2008 crisis, they build robust models that account for shifts in travel behavior, allowing them to adjust flight schedules, pricing, and staffing levels. The argument that past data is outdated overlooks the advancements in technology that make historical data more relevant than ever. Artificial intelligence and machine learning are designed to analyze vast data sets, uncovering insights that human analysts might miss. These tools adapt to new information in real time, blending historical data with current trends to improve accuracy. For example, supply chain disruptions caused by the Russia-Ukraine conflict were mitigated by companies like IBM and Microsoft, which used AI-powered forecasting tools. These tools integrated historical data on previous geopolitical disruptions with real-time updates, enabling companies to reroute shipments and avoid delays. Finally, those who dismiss historical data risk repeating past mistakes. Nokia, once a market leader in mobile phones, failed to adapt to the smartphone revolution. If they had studied historical examples of technological disruption, like Kodak's decline in the face of digital photography, they might have recognized the importance of innovation sooner. To conclude, past data provides immense value to companies even during market shifts. It identifies patterns, offers context, supports predictive models, and prevents the repetition of mistakes. When combined with modern tools like AI or machine learning, historical data becomes even more powerful, enabling companies to navigate uncertainty with confidence. Markets are dynamic, and change is constant, but historical data does not guarantee that lightning will strike twice or history will repeat itself, but it can often rhyme. It's a resource that, when used wisely, helps companies adapt, innovate, and thrive. Ignoring it would be like sailing a ship without a map. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to be presenting the opposing side of the debate. That being, no. Past data would be outdated and does not provide value to companies during market shifts. especially in rapidly changing markets. So I do have one question for you guys. Are you still going to the movie store to rent your favorite film? My guess is no. So, the digitalization of today's world was a huge change to how movies decided to market themselves. And one example being Blockbuster, which was a movie rental place. They weren't able to adapt quickly enough to the new world, and because of that, they lost out to streaming services such as Netflix and Prime. So, like what happened in this example, analyzing the past success of physical movie rentals was, in fact, detrimental to the physical movie rental place Blockbuster. And I believe that companies in not only the movie industry, but all industries where the market is rapidly changing, should not rely on historical data. And what happened in the past is not necessarily good grounds to know what to expect in the future. So, the value historical data provides companies during market shifts in rapidly changing markets is minimal due to the speed and unpredictability of these markets. So, by having to take all that time to research and compare it to past data, the market might have already shifted and you'd be left even further back than before. I think a great example of this would be in the software coding tech world, as back then it might have been very useful to go to school and just learn one coding language, and it just it would be sufficient enough to get by. You'd know your ins and outs of a computer and get a well-paying job. But nowadays those markets have progressed so quickly that it's a constant battle, it's a constant learning process to adapt to current software and to keep up with all the changes. So in that case, all previous data is outdated. If you were to compare the popularity of Nokia and the newest Apple phones, you'll notice that what users want now are very different from what users might have wanted in the past. Market trends can go from shifting very slightly to having made incredibly large jumps in demographics and appeal. When the baselines of that are so different to historical data, it's more valuable to take the current situation and treat it as a whole new product or industry and shift how you market and adapt to what you notice in the here and now. So, what worked in the past won't necessarily keep working. And instead of working with past data, I believe that it's more useful to change the way we think and view things, keeping up with current trends and thinking in more achievable short term goals rather than long term goals in a market that's already unsteady. In such rapidly changing markets, the expectations of what is to come is very unknown. The impossible becoming possible and the reliable becoming unreliable. A great example of just our changing world is by looking at some ideas people had to combat climate change. It is said that, according to the UN's Food and Agricultural Organization, meat and dairy products account for 14.5% of global greenhouse gas emissions. And some ideas I've heard to try to combat that was to shift the way we consume meat by switching to insects that are more compact to farm, which would allow for the protein, help with food insecurity, emit less CO2. But today's society tends to like their meats and are adverse to insects. But if our population continues to grow to such a level, we are going to have to be forced to rethink how we tackle the world and how we see and eat. The same goes for industry in tech with AI advancing incredibly fast. The way we view physical and mental work, and even just getting places, transportation with self driving cars on the rise. Past data will not be able to account for the plethora of new problems and demands that we will be facing. Because the shifts in markets can be so huge, having to rely on historical data can be redundant. And although it may prove valuable in markets that don't change so rapidly, that's not the case for markets that do. So, all in all, forecasting using historical data does not bring companies any value in market shifts in rapidly changing markets due to the speed, unpredictable growth, and unexpected issues that can arise in those markets. In such markets, it's actually more efficient to be able to be flexible and adaptable and to be able to keep looking forward by making educated guesses as to what is and what might be based on current trends and analysis on new ideas.
All right, you make some great arguments of how the value of historical data diminishes in rapidly changing markets due to their speed and unpredictability, citing examples like the software industry and shifting market demands. However, this perspective oversimplifies the role of historical data and misinterprets its application. In the software industry, it's true that technology evolves quickly, but historical data doesn't just inform what was, it identifies how and why markets shift. For instance, the rapid changes of certain programming languages reflects lessons from historical data about innovation cycles and user adoption. Tech giants like Google and Microsoft use this to gain insight to predict what technologies will gain traction next, ensuring they stay ahead. The comparison between Nokia and Apple highlights not the irrelevance of historical data, but the failure to interpret it effectively. Nokia failed to recognize historical trends in consumer preferences for innovation and seamless integration, trends that Apple capitalized on by leveraging historical data to refine its strategy. Even in emerging markets like AI and climate solutions, historical data serves as the foundation for forecasting future challenges or opportunities. AI systems, including self driving cars, are built on historical data to learn patterns and improve performance. Without this data, advancements would stagnate. Rapid change does not render historical data irrelevant, it underscores the need to integrate it with current insights. Disregarding it entirely risks navigating uncharted waters without a compass. Thank you.
So, I do think you made some really great points about mitigating past mistakes, and the example you used about Amazon leveraging their their data on customer consumer behaviors before the pandemic to up profits during COVID was great. I do think that the analyzing the historical data in that case was too many steps to get to the same conclusion you get to by just analyzing the current situation. That being e-commerce and other online behaviors would spike due to the current restrictions placed on going outside for non-essential services. I agree that you should learn from your past mistakes, but if the market is changing so rapidly, I don't think the problems of the past would hold to the same degree of importance. For example, I'd like to re reference my point on what people wanted from smartphones. As like physical buttons, they used to be a very big thing, but now they're not, and the problems associated with physical buttons are now irrelevant because everything is touchscreen now.